Yeah, what I do, guys, so welcome back to another video. Now in today's video we're going to be taking a closer look at Koumei, and in the Techro Encore update she got a brand new augment that you can go and see right here. And this augment, although I would consider it a bit of a band-aid because it's something that we kind of wanted on release within her kit, what I do like about it is that not only does it technically help her seconds, but it synergizes with her passive and the weaponry that she has. She becomes a bit more of an active weapon platformer, which is something that's really nice when you're just looking to go ahead and farm for decrees, again, her second ability. So honestly, they kind of cooked with this one and it works really well. There's no reason for you to not get it if you're looking for long endurance missions and so forth. So that's basically what we're going to be doing. And again, there's a lot to explain with Koumei. I'll be trying to timestamp as much as I can, but hopefully you guys can kind of learn a thing or two with this build. Anyway, so let's go ahead and jump straight into it. Let's go and start things off with the Koumei build straight away. So for this one, we're going to be taking the Omi Kuji's Fortune. Now, if I pronounce any of this stuff wrong, please don't bite my head off, all right? I'm not very good with the pronunciation, but this is going to be the brand new augment. So what this will go ahead and do is that it will reduce the Omi Kuji's cooldown by 4 seconds when you kill an enemy with the weapon affected by Koumei's passive. The way that you can go ahead and see this is by simply looking down in the bottom right. You see where all of the dice are, and currently they're all just rolled on 1, but you see it's got a secondary weapon. Basically, this just means what you want to go and do is, as of right now, for the next 60 seconds, any kills that I go and get with my secondary weapon will lower the cooldown of the Omi Kuji's cooldown, okay? And the way that basically works is, on the cooldown of this ability, is once you proc it a couple of times and so forth, as you do more and more challenges, or even if you fail challenges, the overall cooldown cap will basically increase. Well, it'll get to the stage where it gets 150 seconds, which is absolutely obnoxious, by the way. 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes of just waiting around until you get your next challenge was never fun. So the idea is we can lower that, and I want to go and get you guys an idea. One of the quickest ways I proc this was leaving me on about, like, I think I procced it with about 15 seconds, which means I saved 2 minutes and 15 seconds. This augment's really good, okay? really good. So I like the synergistic value that it's adding towards her passive to go ahead and keep you with a weapon platformer type build. So because it's a weapon platformer type build, we're going to go and talk about the abilities over here on the left hand side really quickly. So in terms of stat priority, number 1, strength. I want as much strength as physically possible on this build, but it's mostly going to be for more than likely one ability is where I want the strength. So in this case, it's mostly going to be on my Subsumable, and my Subsumable is going to be Rhino's Roar. And I know Rhino's Roar dominates an awful lot of builds, but when it comes towards this one, she does an awful lot of dots. Like, there will be dots left, right, and center. And one of her decrees that she does go and get is Twofold Torment. It basically doubles the damage of status. Well, Rhino's Roar and Factions also double the damage of status damage. You're getting basically quadruple the amount right now. This is very good to go and pair and synergize with that Twofold Torment when you do go ahead and get that decree applied and rolled within your build. So no reason to not go ahead and take this. It synergizes significantly with her. That being said, though, if you want to go and run at a different Subsumable, you can do. But again, dots are just so goddamn good with this overall build. Plus, again, it's weapon platformers, so primary, secondaries, and melees all will go and benefit from the Rhino Roar as well. Again, weapon platformer. So that's why we want to go and get the strength. Now, strength will also go ahead, and we're not really caring about the Omi Kuji. It doesn't scale off strength here, and but the strength does go ahead and help the heal multiplier off this one as well. And the Bun Raku also goes ahead and scales off strength, but we don't really need it for the kills right now. Again, we're more of a weapon platformer, so we'll be killing a lot with our weapons more than this ability here, but we still want this one over her first one because of this arcane over here, which we'll get to a little bit later. So strength, okay? Now I will go and say really quickly, and I'll go and put this on screen somewhere. I'll show you all of the values that I have right here. I'm very close, if I changed a couple of things, I could be over 1000% ability strength with this build. Yes, like 1000% ability strength. It's a lot of ability strength this build can go ahead and get from a lot of different sources, but mostly there's some decree stuff that happens inside, which we'll get to a little bit later as well when I talk about the decrees and how to go and get an extra 500% just from the decrees alone. It's crazy strong. So expect a lot of strength with this build, which means expect this to almost be 300% damage increase. Now imagine dots on top of a 300% damage increase. You see why? It's disgusting. So from there onwards, what we want to go and do is look towards duration. And duration is going to be really good for all of the durational related things. In this case, again, it's mostly going to be raw. Like raw is going to be like my main thing that I'm centered on for strength and duration here. Both of them are going to work absolutely fantastic on the builds. There will be like some durational things that you're going to get from Omikoji, but what I can tell, or what I do go and see, is that I don't think any of them actually scale with ability duration, because they're all durational and strengthful within their decree. Like they don't actually scale off these parameters over here, so unfortunately. And then the durational doesn't actually change anything on this either. It's mostly just block chance, everything just remains the same. And then there would be duration on this, but again, we're going to use this as like a primer for the arcane. So, but anyways, strength and duration both going to amplify the Rhino's Roar. I know that feels really weird that Rhino's Roar is like the main component of this build, but yes, that's basically how it goes, because again, we're a weapons platformer, so expect that to be the case. Now, range is still going to be a little bit good, and I still want to make sure I have some range onto the builds. It's mostly going to be for the Bun Raku. The range is just going to go and overly help me here with this. And again, it's a primer towards the arcane, all right? But you can change the range as you please. You can have it a little bit higher, a little bit lower. It's up to you. I think my range was a little bit higher because I was using the first ability and I had Rhino's Roar on the fourth, but I've changed that around recently. So anyways, let's go and talk about the rest of the build. So what you will go and notice is my efficiency is exceptionally low, and I only have 222 energy, and I only have an equilibrium. So the way that this basically works is, because I'm going to be getting a tremendous amount of decrees at the beginning, yeah, sure, my energy might be a little bit off, but keep in mind this is an endurance build. So this will ramp up over time, and as it continues to ramp up, I don't have any issues with my energy whatsoever. So I will go and say this: if you do need energy, consider putting a flow in here, consider putting a streamline. If you need to go and add some in yourself. Me personally, I didn't need to add any more in. I was okay with just the equilibrium, because a lot of decrees will end up fixing a lot of ability efficiency. Also keep in mind the Arcane Peters is also going to go and help out with efficiency as well. All right. Now, the Brave Respite is also a little bit situational in here. It's just, you'll also go ahead and notice, I only have technically one mod of survival as of right now, and it's basically Archon Vitality, in which if I do any heat from things like Bonraku and whatnot, I basically go and apply 2 stacks of heat instead of applying 1 stack of heat. So it'll always go ahead and be like 2, 4, 6, 8, not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It'll always go ahead and just double any heat procs that I'm doing. It's not overly needed inside the build, to be 100% honest with you. You can just put a normal Vitality here, because again, I'm not really using Bonraku to go ahead and particularly kill with what I'm doing, but hey, there's no harm, you know. If it's there, we'll take it. All right, so we can go ahead and pop that in. But besides from that, you'll notice I don't really have any other form of survival. The form of survival is basically going to be split between 2 things. Oh, technically 3 things. So Omamori, and the way that this basically works is I'll surround myself in charm. So basically I roll the dice, and depending on the number of the roll on the dice, we'll basically go ahead and dictate how many like these charm things that are surrounding me. And then whenever an enemy goes ahead and shoots me, there's a 50% block chance on there. And then there's also instead of them healing me, instead of them damaging me, they'll go and heal me instead, right? So that's basically how the Omamori works. And if you don't know, you can go ahead and get like iframes that scale off how many you go ahead and roll. So if I rolled like a 29, the odds are I've guaranteed at least 3 out of 5 6s, and then I get basically iframes out of however many charges I have remaining there. And you can always recast this ability when you have less than 5 charges, or I think if you have 5 charges or less, you can always go ahead and recast it. Ideally, always recast it when you have less than 5 charges or less, unless you got the iframe roll with the 666s. All right. But yes, this is going to be my actual survivability. But when I pair this with all of the survival that I'll get from the decrees, plus this with a little bit of extra health and a backup Brief Respite just in case. But here's the thing, what I have noticed is I was going against like level 500s, level 600s. I was inside a mission for about 2 hours, 3 hours, because I got all of my decrees, which was great. This aura mod, I didn't really need it at that point. It's just good in case I happen to go and see like a Blitz Eximus or someone that I know will go and hit me a bit harder. So having a little bit of backup shield gain is never really a bad idea, but you're gonna have to be very aware of when you want to go and use this. If your shields go down, you shouldn't really need to panic once you've got a lot of accumulated decrees. So you can actually just go ahead and carry on doing your own thing. You'll get a lot of armor in this build anyways, which is really good. So that's going to go ahead and help your overall DR on your health. And then you got the Omamori anyways, which is again gambling whether or not it's in your favor. But again, within the 3 hours of me running the build, I didn't go down once. So that gives you an idea as to what it felt like and how it all kind of came together. So yeah, you can juggle it pretty well. All right. So from now onwards, like I said, we want to go and get the ability strength. That's going to be the blind rage. That's going to be the umbral intensify. That's going to be the power drift up here as well. Now, as for the range, I've got the overextended, but it does go and hurt my ability strength. That's not too much of an issue unless you want to go and get 1000% ability strength. Then that's going to be a bit of an issue. And then I've also got the duration, and the duration is covered by the narrow-minded over here, which does go and hurt my ability range a little bit, but I would rather have a lot of duration so I don't need to recast my roll that often. And then I got the Archon continuity. And similar to the Archon Vitality in here, and also similar to all 3 of these other Archons that you can apply to your build, all 3 of them can also fit in here. It's just a little bit of something extra. So the Bunraku is going to help me apply all 13 elements. So you can apply impact, puncture, and slash. Whereas the problem with the first ability is that it can't apply impact, puncture, and slash. It can, whereas Bunraku can apply it. So therefore, Arcane and Peters can go ahead and get all of the elements. And just in case it couldn't, or if I need to go and give it a little bit of extra love, if I do go and apply a toxin, I can also apply a corrosive. So if it didn't roll, if I cast it and it didn't roll corrosive, but it happened to roll a toxin, I get a free corrosive anyways, which again helps my Arcane and Peters, which we'll get to in a second. But yes, if you want to go and chuck these in, you can do. There's not much else for me to go and say here. If you want to go and use Archon Flow to go and get a little bit of extra energy and so forth, and whatever, you could go ahead and do that. If you want to go and do Archon Intensify, it does actually work with Omamori. The problem that I tend to find with the Archon Intensify is it'd be better with a combat discipline, because the idea is you want to go ahead and actually hurt yourself. So you see this mod here, this would actually be a little bit better. And I think once you scale the decrees and you're all good to go and whatnot, this actually wouldn't be that bad, because I would still be healing and I'd be okay. But for the most part, I don't really want to rely on it, and I would still rather have a backup shield gate, me personally. And the Archon Stretch also works in here, but I would go and say that once I get moral boosts, which we'll cover in decrees in a second, I just don't really care for the Archon Stretch. I just feel like I'd rather go and have the equilibrium and call it a day. But yes, all of them do go ahead and work. If you want to apply them, please go ahead and apply them, all right? Just so you guys know this. Now, let's go ahead and talk about something really quickly. I've mentioned it a few times. Let's go ahead and bring it up. Arcane and Peters. Arcane and Peters basically states that you get, whenever you're going to deal unique status effects from abilities, you gain 6% ability strength and 3% ability efficiency for 20 seconds. So, to give you guys an idea, that is going to give me and yield me at 13 elements, where Bunraku can apply 13 elements. The first ability cannot apply, it can only apply 10 elements, which is the base 4 and the combined 6. This Bunraku can do the IPS as well, so it's got 3, 4, and 6. I will get 78% ability strength, and I'll get 39% ability efficiency, I think it is. So the ability efficiency, as you can imagine, is going to go and help my overall efficiency side, plus decrease. And the ability strength is the biggest amount of ability strength I can get on this build as of right now, which is very easy to apply because of Bunraku. Okay, and again, it will work in tangent as I get more and more decrees and so forth. For that, this looks scary at 155 cast, and this also looks scary at 116 cast. Keep in mind, we'll get a whole bunch of ability efficiency as we continuously play, so it's not going to be that scary. And again, it's an endurance build, so you stay inside the mission, you'll end up accumulating more and more decrees, so things will cost less and less, and things get stronger and stronger. All right. Now, from there onwards, Augmented is also scaling strength. This gives me 60% ability strength after 250 kills. This gives me 78, this gives me 60. Get the idea? That's basically what I'm running there for me. This worked pretty well for me. Now, you don't have to go ahead and run it specifically like this, but again, it's more of a weapon platformer. So I would go ahead and argue the fundamentals of the build are take the Augment and take something that basically runs well with weapons. So in this case, you want to use Mirage's Eclipse? Sure. Zaku's Starter's Whisper? Sure. But again, because we're dotting an awful lot, I think Rhino's Roar is basically your best in slot here for a weapon platform build that's going to be doing a lot of dots left, right, and center. Okay. So let's go ahead and talk about decrees really quickly before we go into anything else, because I want you guys to understand what's going to be happening. Now, it's going to look a little bit frightening, but I'll try and go over as much as I possibly can here. Okay, so this is all of the different decrees that you can go and get from the build. I'm going to go ahead and just run them down to try and help you guys understand when I would be like, that's a good decree, and that's a decree that I don't really need, but it's also fine, and maybe some of them are disposable. Let's just go over them really quickly, right? So these are all the decrees that you can get on her second ability, and again, better for you to stay in longer missions so that once you have all of these decrees applied to her, that's great. But when you leave the mission, then you enter a new mission, you'd have to reapply and gamble for all of these decrees again. All right. So to start things off with, just general damage decrees. Smoldering Strike, melee attacks are imbued with fire. This is good. There's nothing wrong with that one because you will go and get some challenges that require you to do elements. So this can actually go ahead and add heat towards your melee weapon regardless. Pretty good. Critical Frost, very, very good on this one. Critical hits deal an extra hit with cold damage and status. Basically, if you end up running criticals on any of your weapons here, the cold, again, is also going to be a challenge that you'll go and do. It'll be like kill 50 enemies with cold status or something like that. Well, again, if you got critical weapon or any weapons that are doing critical, you get an extra damage instance with a guaranteed cold, basically proccing within it. So fantastic. All you need to go and do now is just guaranteeing that you're critting. For me, this is my Okicore in my build. Bombasting's Malice on headshots, you basically go ahead and inflict toxin towards nearby enemies. This is also good as well. Rise in Agony's critical hits deal 150% critical damage for 7 seconds. This is not too bad, can't really complain about that. Venomous Touch is absolutely fantastic. Every third melee attacker deals scaling 300% toxin damage with status. Again, you can now add toxin towards your melee as a standalone here with heat as well, so you can kind of see how like this is coming together. Critical roll is not something that I typically care about too much, but hey, a little bit of burst damage if you do want it. Whenever you go and roll, you get critical damage 120%, but for 4 seconds. It's not something that I'd really go ahead and consider, but it does, I think, pair with the rolling Arcane on secondary weapons. If you do want to go and take that, it's one of the Cascadias. Majestic Shite means melee attacks go and hit twice. This is fantastic. Irresistible Bombardment is absolutely amazing. Each shot briefly increases fire rate by 30% cumulatively. This is fantastic. This is really good for your primaries and your secondaries. Go ahead and ramp a whole bunch of fire rate, a whole bunch of damage, DPS upgrade, so forth. So whenever I go and see this one, I get very, very happy for my primaries and secondaries. Vicious Barber's critical damage is also doubled. Again, very, very good. I'm going to go a little bit more status heavy on my builds here, but I'm never going to complain if I get Vicious Barb, all right? Because no matter what, I'm going to have some kind of critical chance on my builds. So if I go and double their critical damage, sure. Even if it was a 10% critical chance, sure. If I happen to go and hit it, awesome, right? Deadly Momentum basically just means whenever you go ahead and keep moving, you go ahead and get 150% damage. So that's pretty nice. Just going to add in. Now, this is the major one that I would go and recommend. It's called Twofold Torment. Status effects deal double damage. Like how I said, if you got Rhino's Roar, which is also dealing double damage towards your toxin ticks or your heat ticks and so forth, then Twofold Torment is also only going to go ahead and help enhance that further. And if something's already doing double, then you're doubling double. All right, it's a lot of extra things. Now consider Elementalist mods on weapons as well. There's a lot of damage you can get with dots on here. It's fantastic. Now, Duelist Advantage, which also works really well with scaling enemies because they get more and more health, so you'll see more and more higher dots over time. Duelist Advantage is your first shot after reloading, deals 400% damage. I'm not going to lie to you, it really depends on the weapon that you're running here. My build, not good. It's not really good with my build, but your build might be different. It depends on what you like to go and run. Shadow of Frost is basically going to get 240% damage to enemies affected by cold status. Fantastic, because that can synergize with the critical frost up here, where you're guaranteeing it on a critical hit. So now you get extra damage now on shattering on top of it. Between the eyes is whenever you go ahead and hit headshots, you get 150% damage for 3 seconds. Sure, it's going to synergize with the if you need to go and do headshot challenge. Now, I will be 100% honest with you guys. I actually skipped the headshot challenge. It's actually quicker for me to skip it, take the 150-second cooldown penalty, and just kill with whatever weapon is currently on her passive cycle, and then just go ahead and get it back quicker than it is for me to actually land headshots with majority of headshot things that I'm doing. So I found it better to go ahead and just skip all of the headshot things. But if you don't want to skip it, then this synergizes with it, all right? Daughter's Outburst on critical hit, you gain 90% melee attack speed. It's really good. Hammer of Retribution, it's ground slam kind of builds. So if you're running a ground slam build, sure, but it increases attack speed for 5 seconds. I'd argue this isn't a good one. It's kind of shouldn't need to be in here. It's not really that great, but it's up to you. If you think you can make something out of it, go for it. Fist of Bonanza is 100% damage for every enemy affected by status within 20 meters. Fantastic. This is exactly what we're wanting because we're going to afflict a lot of statuses. Then what we got is Blazing Bombardment. Every first shot launches a homing fireball at an enemy, 240% heat damage and status. This is going to be heat damage and status on your primaries and secondaries. This is good. Wyrmling's Aid is very, very important to our build. We will get to this a little bit later, but basically it's an extra damage instance with 200% corrosive damage and status. This is important. Remember corrosive damage and status, okay? Civil's Outburst on finisher kill, but this requires finishers. As you could imagine, it's naturally not going to be that good. Now, I will go and say here, because I don't know where I'm also going to go and fit this in on the video, the Coda Bass Assist is a brand new weapon that came with the infested liches, the Technocyte liches, and basically it allows you to go ahead and do a teleport mercy, which then opens up a lot of finishers. So basically, if you run this weapon with Koumei, you can, all of these finisher ones are actually really easy to apply with that weapon, and that weapon synergizes and gets even more gets stronger and way stronger with all of these buffs that you go and receive. So you can go ahead and consider it. All right, I don't for my build because I already go ahead and get what I need, but I'll explain that a bit later. Stormcaller is absolutely fantastic. You go ahead and gain 1 electric damage for every bullet reloaded to your weapon. I don't actually care about this. What I do care about is the magazine capacity increase. This is phenomenal for like majority of the weapons that I'm running. Allow me to pull them out, kill, cycle, and then put them away. So I love the magazine capacity here. Fault Finder is basically you end up dealing electric damage in an area. I didn't actually see if it had an electric proc, but it's because a lot of stuff is actually going on. So forgive me, I don't think it does an electric proc, but I might be wrong here. It's just straight up an electric damage. But actually, maybe it does do an electric proc. I'm not 100% sure. Anyways, Solid Wound is heavy attacks, still corrosive damage and status. So this is up to you if you do want to go and get this, but this is also nice because this is similar to the Wyrmling's Aid one up here as well, all right? But this is only you've going heavy attacks. Synergize really well with your Tenakai if you're going to do like an influence build or if you're just going to do a heavy attack build. But this is important. Corrosive damage and status is important, so keep that in mind. Sweep and Blow is melee heavy attack, creates a shockwave. I don't really care for this one too much, but it's up to you. You might go and like it. Sweep and Miasma, I also don't care about it. It's jump kick. You gain 3 extra jumps and jump kicks and so forth. The jumps is good though for the challenge that where you need to go and remain airborne. So the jumps is nice, but the jump kicks and so forth, I just don't really care about it too much. The Kexax Pulse as well is also something that I don't care about too much, but again, it can also go and work well with the extra jumps. So those two can synergize together and they'll go and help you for your airborne challenge, but that's basically about it. Molten Metal is again on finisher, and it takes 6% of the enemy's maximum health as heat damage to 10 meters around its target. You can work it again with the Coda base assist if you want to. So now here's where the energy decrees start coming in. Proficient Fighter, basically Warframes gain 45% ability efficiency. So that's already pumped me up. If I have 45% of mine, that's already 90% ability efficiency. Plus the 39% coming over from the Arcane Impetus. You can see how my efficiency is now quite positive on the builds. Moral Boost, whenever you have 4 HP, the Warframe regenerates 5 energy per second. That's actually better than the 2 energy per second that you go ahead and get from Archon Stretch, which you can see why I'm not really running the Archon Stretch. If I can go get the moral boost, then that's pretty nice. Bounce Back basically means on the Warframe ability cast, you can refund 25 of the energy spent, which is also quite nice. And then Envious Economy is casted ability has a 90% chance for the next ability to not cost any cooldown, which as you could imagine, if I do happen to go and see a proc, I'll go and cast my Bun Raku to go and help my Arcane Impetus cycle to go and help my Rhino's Roar. So I kind of cast it in that order, right? So survivability decrease, greedy heal, basically whenever you go and kill an enemy, you go and get a little bit of health. This is quite nice inside the build. Tactical reposition, after rolling, you go and recover a little bit of damage taken. I won't lie to you, you won't really notice it that much. And as you start scaling, enemies aren't going to hit you for 2s and 3s. Enemies going to hit you for thousands, all right? So it's not really that good once you start scaling. Corrosive Grit, now this one's very important, okay? So Corrosive Grit says each stack of corrosive, remember what I was saying earlier about the corrosive, it'll go ahead and give you 180 armor armor, but this is tripled for Warframes. So it's not 180 armor, it's 720 armor, I think it was, if I remember that correctly. Oh no, sorry, if I scale it all the way up and then scale it even further, it gives you a lot of extra armor. I'll probably put the values on screen somewhere, but yes, Corrosive Grit is really, really important because of the armor that I get from it. So not only does that help my survivability, but it's going to help something a little bit later when we go ahead and get to it. All right, so remember corrosive, remember armor. Okay, just keep those in your head. All right. Oh no, sorry, this is just the armor one here. So Tam's Fortune is finisher, grants plus 500 armor for 10 seconds, and armor boost triples for Warframe as well. So do go and keep in mind this is also really nice, but again, you would want the coda Bass Assist to go and get more out of it. Again, I don't need this because we're going to get to what we're going to get to in a moment. All right, so Rain of Vitality is enemies have 60% chance to drop an additional health orb. This is why the Equilibrium is also really good on the build, but health orbs also increase my armor. Sorry, this is the one that triples for Warframes. This is the 720. This one doesn't triple for Warframes. Forgive me, I got that wrong. It was this one. There's a lot to take in, all right? I'm allowed to get things wrong. So now we got Marauder's Nerve. This also just gives us a 75% damage reduction. Again, that's also going to help my overall survivability, so you can see where my survivability is also coming from. Now, Utility Decrees really quickly. Temporal Acceleration, casting abilities gives me movement speed, cool. Assassin's Rush is on kill, I also gain parkour speed, cool. Ranger's Reload, I can reload my equipped weapons, so I never have to reload ever again. So if you want really big, like long, just take the biggest, longest reload you've got, just roll now. So you can go ahead and get that good for specific weapons. Nibble Gunner is ammo efficiency as well. Good for quite a lot of different weapons here. Stable Stance is 25% resistance to knockdown for each enemy within 20 meters. This basically means if you have 4 enemies around you at this point, you have got yourself a prime sure-footed within 20 meters. There was definitely going to be 4 enemies around you, right? Odds are, because you're going to play quite aggressive with the build. Okay, so there should be 4. Now, Grim Armory, oh no, this isn't one, but yeah, Grim Armory, on kill, 50% chance to refill the ammo as well. So it's one thing I get ammo efficiency, it's one thing I can even reload to go ahead and get a reload, to go ahead and get a roll to go and get a reload, but it's another thing I can also go and refill. This works really well with the Occucore anyways. So, and I'm going to have a really big magazine. I think I get like 240 or 280 magazine on my Occucore. It's insane. It's so good. Now, these last ones down here, this is where it gets really important. So we got Bremen's Nerve. This is also the finisher one. This gives you 200% ability strength on your next ability cast. This is similar to Molt Vigor. Okay, so again, if you're running the code of Bass Assist, whatever it's called, you can consider that for all of the mercy kills. Now we've got to the most important one. It's called Fortified Will. This means every 50 armor, you go ahead and get 15% ability strength. This is capped at 500% ability strength. In my build, and with what I'm currently doing, I will get 500% ability strength, just naturally, because of the way that it synergizes between this. So I'm going to tell you, and pay attention, this is where it's important. If I'm using my primaries and secondaries, ideally, proc Wormling's aids, so Wormlings, that will go ahead and help you with Corrosive Grit. Add Corrosive Grit to the health orbs that you pick up. That triples on your armor. So these two are going to be really good. So this triples on your armor. Sorry, Rain of Vitality, this one doesn't. Now that's going to equal your Fortified Will. You will get 500% ability strength. You want to scale all of them, all right? So you want all of them to be maxed out at that point. But yes, 500% ability strength is a lot of ability strength to go and get for free just in the build naturally, but that's the order that I do it in. Wormlings into Corrosive Grit and Rain of Vitality equals Fortified Will. All right, then I just go ahead and do a little bit of math here. I'll have so much armor that yes, I'll go ahead and cap at 500% within my build respectively. So that's really nice. That's all of the decrees. I know that's a lot to go ahead and take in right now. If you do happen to go ahead and get, so you can see how the cooldowns work in here, the Wikipedia page will hold a lot more on top of this, but there is a chance to go ahead and roll a rare one. But more importantly, there are penalties and whatnot. Again, sometimes you can go and just take those off. They're not that important. The toxin one can screw you over just a little bit, but it's not the end of the world. You can kind of just shift over to your operator if you do go and notice it. What was the one that I was going to go and say? These are all of the challenges. I would just skip the headshot challenge. It's the only challenge that I just don't like doing here because of the way that I utilize my weaponry with the build. Okay, so speaking of weaponry and speaking of all of that stuff, let's go ahead and get into that. I'm sorry that the video is a bit of a long one, but there's a lot to go ahead and take in here. Hopefully I've helped you guys with the decrees to understand which ones are going to be good and which ones you're basically looking for. But yeah, so For my primary weapon, I'm going to be running the Teneclaxion. I'm going to be running the Teneclaxion because the Teneclaxion, I wouldn't run Incarnate weapons with what I'm doing. Keep in mind, all of these weapons are going to benefit from ammo economy efficiency. So you're going to end up having that ammo efficiency. It's also going to benefit from all of the scaling or the double dipping on statuses, the scaling criticals, all of that good stuff. But it's also going to go in scale with magazine size. It's also going to end up increasing significantly. And I can also go ahead and refill my magazine as I'm getting kills. So I'm looking for something that can hold its ground but also hit multiple enemies in one go. This is why I like the Teneclaxion. If you do not want to go and run this, you do not have to, but this is my standardized build on it. Scale and damage with the galvanized aptitude, a little bit of scale and multi-shot on it. Viral and heat, just go ahead and whack it in there. I use the primary crux over here, which also gives me ammo efficiency and also status chance. It might be a little bit overkill. You may not need to go ahead and run this. You can actually go and run something like a Deadhead or whatever you want to, or just a Merciless. Whatever else you want to go and throw in there, you could do. And a little bit of criticals, just go ahead and run it off. But ideally, Sinister Reach, go and get more beam length, okay? That's my primary. Now, as for my secondary, I'm using the Ocucore. The Ocucore is absolutely fantastic. So this one inherently and innately, I put heat on it. So whenever I go and see any heat challenges, I pull this bad boy out. And this one kills so fast and so rapidly, I didn't even really need the galvanized shot on here. So keep in mind, you can run galvanized shot because it would scale with all of the elements that you're doing, but you do not need to go and run it. The Sentient Surge is absolutely core towards what I'm doing right now. But if you do not have the Sentient Surge, keep in mind, it can refill its own ammo because there is a decree that refills 20% of ammo. So, but you won't get the scaling status chance and critical chance this thing gets, but you can still go and use it. So if you've ever wanted to go and use the Ocucore and you've never had this before, like this augment here, then you can go ahead and be like, oh, I'll just use Koumei and see what it feels like with it. And now you can actually finally see what the Ocucore feels like when you have this in here. But again, you'll lose the damage from the critical chance and the status chance, all right? From there onwards, everything else is pretty much standardized, multi-shot, criticals, and then combination of Toxin on here and Cold on there for viral with heat. And you also going to see I have multi-shot and critical damage on this. Then a little bit of beam length and also the Cascadia Flare, so I can go and get even more damage on the weapon because I don't actually have a damage mod on the weapon. As you can clearly go and see, this is my damage, all right? Now, as for my melee weapon, I'm using the standardized melee influence. I'm going to be using the Nami Solo because it's just one of my more go-tos. I will go and throw it out there really quickly. She does have her own weapon in here, so you can go and run the Aminata, and I would also consider a melee influence build for this. And this can end up rolling lots of different like stats. You can go and get attack speed. You can go ahead and get final critical damage, final critical chance. I think like final status damage and like even range and so forth. It's got its own like little bit of rolling. If you want to go and use it with her, you can do, but for now I just want to go and keep mine simple. This is my influence build that I go ahead and run as well. Keep in mind, lots of dots, lots of procs, things are going to die. Lots of dots, lots of procs. It's fantastic. Naturally, it's going to be like my electric challenge I'm going to go and put in here, but once I start getting like Smoldering Strike and Venomous Touch and all of those other things, I'll start getting Toxin on here, I'll start getting heat on here. So now my melee influence scales even more because more and more elements are being added to the equation. My ribbon down here really quickly is combo duration, electric, and range, which also work really, really well towards the builds. But otherwise, this is just a standardized, I've just got gas and electric, more dipping on here, scaling status chance on there. You don't really need quickening. You can go just put Fury in here if you want to. Like, oh, whoops. That would go ahead and work completely fine. You could just do that. There's nothing wrong with that. And a little bit of condition overloads is also fine as well. All right. So that's the weaponry that I'm going to be running. Again, weapons platform. My goal is to go ahead and pay attention. Inside the bottom right, right now it says melee. So therefore, I'm going to pull out the melee weapon and kill everything with my melee. That's my goal. Okay. But ideally, the way that I want to go ahead and do that is I want to go ahead and use my seconds. As I go ahead and use my second, it will give me a challenge there. So I need to go and kill 28 enemies that are within 10 meters. I will also go and throw it out there, a little bit of tip and trick of the trades. I actually use an arcane called Magus Anomaly. So if you see that the enemy's over there, I'm going to pull the enemy towards me just by shifting to my operator and back. So now I can go ahead and just kill it quite naturally. Boom. And that's going to give me 1 out of the 28 kills that I now need to go ahead and successfully complete that challenge. There's going to be a lot of different things you can go ahead and pull from different sources, but I use a operator arcane called Magus Anomaly, okay? Magus Anomaly, that's what I'm using. So that can help me on this challenge here. Otherwise, some of the other challenges are just things like wall latching and so forth, just killing whilst you're airborne, killing whilst you're sliding and so forth. They're not really that hard to go and do. There are some other mods that you can go ahead and typically take to go ahead and help you on that. There are things like if I type in aim glides, is it this one? It's this one. So whilst you're aim gliding, you get less gravity, which is great. So you can stay in air a little bit more. So you could actually go and put this on here if you really wanted to. So this is going to help with your airborne challenge. And there's also things like wall latch duration as well. So this is also going to help you stay on the wall for a little bit longer to go and help your wall latch one. Okay, so you can also go ahead and do those ones as well if you want to. Any kind of slide ones or things like that. You can also go instead of things like cut and drift, where you got things like friction, extra slide distance, so forth. You can also go and consider those types of mods inside that slot if you do want to. All right. Ideally though, as for the ability rotation itself, the way that I'm basically going to go ahead and play this, if I go ahead and simulate all of these guys really quickly. Again, sorry the video is super long right now, guys. I apologize. So if I go and do this really quickly, my goal and my ability rotation is going to work as follows. Firstly, I would normally go and have my free active. So this is going to go and just be my overall protection. Make sure my free is active. Ideally, I would have more energy inside the mission because my ability efficiency scales has decreased. Once I've then done that, I obviously want to go and select my challenge. So my challenge is kill enemies whilst airborne. Cool, right? But what I want to go and do is now get the most out of my Rhino's Roar. This is where I'm going to go and use Sling Strength from Madurai. I'm just going to dash into the ground a couple times, switch back. Then what I'm going to go and do is use the Bun Raku to proc. That has now procced 13 stacks of Arcane Impetus, increasing my ability strength by 79% and increasing my ability efficiency by 39%. Now what I'm going to go and do is use the Rhino's Roar. Again, in mission, I would have all of the energy sorted out for all of this stuff, or I just kill a couple of enemies and get some extra orbs. And then what I go and do is cast this, and I get the biggest return from that as well. So that's 112% just from the 30 there. This Rhino's Roar is very close towards 300% on my build. You can get it over 300% if you want to, all right? You can easily get over 1,000% ability strength on this build. All right, as for all of my numbers, I think I showed it earlier, but you can see like all of the ones that I'm using: base, decrees, mobile augmented, Impetus, sling strength, grown power I've actually took out now, so you can just kind of ignore that one. So that'll take the 25 out. Be quiet, you. The Tau Forged ability strength, the Blind Rage, the Umbral Intensify, and when you add all of it together inside here, 936% ability strength. So it's a lot of ability strength for my Rhino Roar, only to go ahead and absolutely overkill with dots, which is fantastic because we are scaling, and that's the whole point. You want damage, okay? So it seems a bit overkill, but it's supposed to be overkill because that's the whole point about it. She is scaling. Now, as for my companion of choice right now, I'm not going to lie to you, there's plenty of companions you can go and use, but I'm going to be running the Cheshire, and the main reason why I'm running the Cheshire is because, again, I'm looking to stay in the mission for a long time, so I want to go and double my loot. All right, so I've got an 80% chance whenever I go and pick up any kind of loot, it basically doubles. This is fantastic. All right, so especially if we're going to do like still essences and so forth and stuff like that, that's also going to be really good. And again, I've also got the retrieve, so whenever the enemy does go and die, there's a 45% chance to scavenge additional loot from that enemy. Those two things together are going to help me on scaling missions where I'm just looking to go and get some rewards. All right, Self Deconstruct also helps my equilibrium. Whenever this companion does any kind of damage, there's a 25% chance to go and drop a health orb as well, which is really, really nice. Okay. You do have Tenacious Bond in here, which also gives you final critical damage with the bite over here, which is over 50%. I know this is a bit bugged right now, but it's over 50%. That also works really well. And they can also scale things like Mecha Overdrive and Hunter Synergy, but that's entirely up to you. This is just a primer. I don't really need it to do a lot of damage. I just need it to hit something and hold bite. That's all I really need there as well. Now we'll go and also say there is like one little additional tip that I can go and give you guys. Since you're going to be doing like endurance missions and so forth, if you guys ever go into things like Omni Fissures, and if you go ahead and find Conjunction Survival in a Steel Path Omni Fissure, one of the relics, when you crack it open, also gives you doubled ability strength. So if mine is 936 doubled, get the idea. Just a little bit of a tip for you guys, all right? So yes, this Rhino's Roar can be very close to 600% damage increase. So as with the Archon Shards, let's go and do the Archon Shards and then let's go and get the gameplay done. So the Archon Shards that I'm running on the build are going to be quite standard for what I'm doing. First of all, I'm going to want a bit of casting speed. This is just good quality of life. Again, I've got two really big casting abilities in here with the Rhino's Roar and with the Bun Raku. I want to go and get those off as quick as possible, so I don't really want to stick around and linger around, all right? My casting speed is going to go and look after me there. From there onwards, ability strength. I'm just scaling my ability strength. I just want lots of dots and lots of kills and lots of good stuff. So that's what I would basically recommend. Now, I will also go and say she can go and apply lots of different elements. So just because I run this doesn't mean that you don't have to go ahead and test even further. You can run the violets for electric damage. You can go ahead and run the toxins and so forth, which also help with the Bunraku. There's lots of different things you can go ahead and run on her. All right, so if you want to go do the topazes, you can also go ahead and do that. It's your call for all of the different alternatives that you can go ahead and run on her. It's your call. Just your call. I like the ability strength and the casting speeds. I just think it's more generic to what she's doing, and can't really go wrong with it. I'll put it that way. So without further ado, I think I've covered basically everything. Let's go ahead and talk about, I'll get some gameplay footage up on the screen. So yeah, the gameplay footage. Again, I echo it one more time. The whole concept of this is that Koumei is all about scaling. All right, to get the most out of her kit, her second ability, you're going to want to be using her in missions that have high mob density, like survival missions, for example, like conjunction survival that you're going to see right here. And you also want to go ahead and make sure that you are in endurance missions. So you want to be able to leave at your own extent. So that's going to be an endurance mission, and want lots of enemies basically attacking you. So as a solo related frame, that's going to go ahead and do like solo related still path survivals and so forth. She's going to be one of the better ones to basically enjoy a weapon platforming build with her, with this brand new augment. All right, synergizing with your passive, lovely stuff, and you get lots of decrees. You can mess about even more with lots of different weapons. I think it's kind of like endless in terms of the different fun and different weapons you can go and put in here. So it's the gift that keeps on giving. So yeah, again, like I said, it's a bit of a band-aid augment in a weird way, but for the most part, that's basically what's going on there. Sorry about the siren if you guys hear it in the background. Yeah, my typical hometown. Anyways, so yeah, overall though, not much else to really go and say here. Just go and get lots of decrees, do all your challenges, cycle between your weapons, and just honestly have fun with it. I actually had a lot of fun with the augment. I think it's really good for her, so I'm very happy that they did actually give us this. I'd rather have this than not have it. That's my outcome on it. Acolytes don't stand a chance, Eximus units don't stand a chance, nothing inside of survival stands a chance. You're going to obliterate everything, which is super fun. So I'm going to go bring you guys back here. That's going to be it from today's video. I know it's a bit of a long one. I'm actually losing my voice a little bit, but hopefully I covered the majority of the parameters that you guys need to understand and what's going to look out for. I know it's not really a guide to explain how every single bit of her kit works, so please go and use the Wikipedia if you do need for that part. I could go ahead and do it, but I'm already 40 minutes deep, so you can see why I cut that part out. So, but I'm hoping you guys still had enough fundamentals and enough parameters within this video to help you guys and guide you guys in towards a still path survival endurance build with Koumei. So if you did go to like the video, please go ahead and leave a like on the video. If you think someone else out there would enjoy a build like this, please go and share it with a friend or wherever else you guys want to go and share it. And as always, if you guys are new to the channel, consider hitting the subscribe button and come join us more often. But as always, I'll catch you guys again inside the next video. Take it easy, everyone. Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.